cars, and we talked about if the car failed, if the takeoff ramp broke, that we would have a driver in a seatbelt and a three-point restraining harness in the water.
There were ambulances there.
We put a crane out of camera's view.
You've never seen such a mass of lifting equipment and very worried people too, I think.
30 seconds before the stunt was to come off, the divers were underwater with a cable and with a hook, because we could have had the car and the driver out of the water quicker than just going in after the driver.
The driver, of course, was flat on his face in the front with a dummy Bond and dummy sheriff on either side, and he was completely covered in black.
There is 2 tachometers aboard.
And he controlled the accelerator and the brake with his feet behind him.
The speed is absolutely checked before it goes, then off you go.
And action, and everybody's a bit white-knuckled.
I couldn't look. I had to close my eyes.
The rest is automatic. You hang on, cross your fingers.
Roar of applause and cheers. Naturally, relief mostly, I would think, admiration.
One take, and that was it.
It was done in one take. It was unbelievable.
I still have a great picture and vivid memory of Roger Moore coming up to the driver and to me with tears in his eyes saying, "You fellas really made me look good."
Guy Hamilton didn't like it because it didn't look real. It just went,
It's so perfect. It worked absolutely so perfectly. And everybody said, well, my God, what are you worried about? And I remember him saying, I wonder if we ought to do it again.
I remember Cubby saying to me, the thing was, it was too perfect.
I also remember the answer he got from Mr. Willard, who I remember rightly said, we are certainly not going to do it again, not with me, because that's the first time I've done it.
He had never done the stunt prior to that.
I mean, he could easily have been killed, easily. That was probably the most remarkable thing in the entire film.
It came out to be one of the great stunts.
The next day, the filmmakers had more auto action in store for Milligan and his drivers.
The caretakers in the Chok Chai building knew there was a movie taking place in the morning, and they went and waxed the floors the night before. Guy Hamilton is up on a building hollering, "Go, go, go," I said, and my tires are spinning. Went out into traffic, and then other associate directors and producers are hollering at me on the radio, "Catch the car." So I went up on an island, and I drove about a quarter of a mile on an island with 2 wheels on the road and 2 wheels up on the dirt island.
you had to swerve around corners.
I can hear the producers and the directors screaming, "Jay, go, it's great, keep going."
I don't remember anybody ever getting hurt. I was all strapped in pretty good, you know.
But all that was done, of course, by me, with stunt men in cars surrounding me. So there was no danger of an unauthorized driver smashing into me, which, believe you me, could easily have happened in Bangkok.
We wrecked a lot of cars in Bangkok.
Cubby's worries of meeting the schedule are noted on the call sheet of June the 7th, asking the unit to work on their upcoming day off. Meanwhile, shooting commences at a kickboxing stadium.
That was a normal boxing stadium with the wire mesh and the betting and everything else which went on. Whilst there was a real boxing match going on, we came in and we used the atmosphere. And they all joined in wonderfully, you know.
It was a huge production with so many people in one set.
Everybody's yelling at the tops of their voices, and everybody's betting.
It wasn't really difficult for me, since all I had to do is just be stone dead.
The production returns to England in late June and is immediately faced with a crisis. Cameraman Ted Moore falls ill and is unable to continue. Cubby must immediately find a replacement or risk blowing the already tight schedule. He contacts noted cinematographer Oswald Morris.
He says you can have anything you want in equipment, in money or anything, but he has one stipulation. You've got to promise him, if you would do it, you finish the film on August or something, because he's got mass release dates in November.
Morris comes on board and shooting resumes without a break in the schedule on the interior sets of Scaramanga's Island at Pinewood Studios. As the schedule winds down, the unit moves to Bovingdon Airfield to film scenes of Scaramanga's flying car.
That was based on a real car plane.
There was a flying car, yes, and that's why it was scripted around a flying car. But unfortunately, the guy killed himself with that car before we started shooting. So they came to me to make another one very quickly. So I built a full-size version and several models which flew.
The original flying car, which was very well done, was done by Johnny Steers.
At the end of July in Pinewood, the first unit works on one of the film's most imaginative sets, Scaramanga's funhouse.
Guy was fascinated with what a killer would do to keep his edge up.
That was probably one of the most difficult sets to conceive. It had no form. It had no direction purposely. It was built out of mirrors, images, space, height, depth.
That can be an absolute pain in the butt shooting with those mirrors, but they were so well designed that you could virtually put the camera wherever you wanted.
Meanwhile, the second unit creates explosions on the solar power complex.
We were all watching when she had to do this particular run, and we knew that there were going to be explosions all the way along her path.
I was very scared, I have to admit. Very, very, very scared.
And she wasn't wearing very much at the time.
One of them went off and really, like, it didn't burn my bum, but, you know, you're very vulnerable when you're half naked.
She did freeze at one point.
I freaked out. I threw myself on the floor. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And he just grabbed me and said, we've got to go, we've got to go. Because if the timing isn't there, then the explosions go off and that's the end of me.
All these finale sets have to be big, you know. There's no point in being on a Bond film if you don't make one big finale set.
You can't really blow up a set that size. It's too expensive to make everything as a breakaway.
It was even more fun to see it being blown up in miniature.
And of course that's what we did. We built quite a large miniature.
The Man with the Golden Gun stands as a Bond film with all the right ingredients. Exotic locations, beautiful women, amazing stunts, fantastic sets, even a score by famed Bond film composer John Barry. The film also marks the end of an era. Producer Harry Saltzman leaves his long partnership with Cubby Broccoli, who becomes the sole guiding force behind James Bond. For Cubby Broccoli, the film is a launching point for the Bond adventures to follow.